The dirt road into Willow Creek hadn't changed in the 15 years since I'd last driven it. Same old maples arching over the cracked blacktop, same sharp curve of the hill drop toward the reservoir, same quiet that felt almost too perfect. But I could sense the tension underneath, the kind that settles into a place when rules start mattering more than people. I eased the pickup onto the gravel shoulder near Pine Ridge Lane, killed the engine, and let the silence settle. Duke, my gray-muzzled German Shepherd mix, lifted his head from the passenger seat and gave one soft thump of his tail. You remember this place, too. This was home once, where Dad laid brick for a living and Mom ran the Saturday Story Hour at the little brick library that's been empty ever since the budget cuts. I left for the Army right after high school, then stayed away longer than I ever planned. Disaster response in 3 states. Infrastructure policy in D.C., eventually landing in the governor's office, helping write flood resilience grants after back-to-back record wet seasons. Governor Ellis had looked up from the topo map that day and asked the question that brought me back. "You're from Willow Creek, aren't you, Jack?" "Yes, ma'am. That's one of the worst flood risk zones along the whole reservoir basin. I need someone who knows the ground, not just the paperwork. I want you to run it." So here I was, not visiting family, not retired, State Project Director for the Pine Ridge Stabilization Initiative. On paper, erosion control, slope reinforcement, emergency access improvements. In truth, making sure the next 100-year rain didn't turn basements into base boats and send houses sliding toward the water. I stepped out, boots crunching. The 5-acre work zone was flagged, staked, permitted 6 ways from Sunday. State right-of-way, critical infrastructure designation, no private fences, no flower beds, no HOA-maintained anything. The bulldozer rolled in just after noon, big yellow Caterpillar, operator named Ray already running diagnostics. We'd barely scraped the first pass of topsoil when the voice cut across the clearing. "Excuse me, you can't be here." She strode toward us like she'd rehearsed the entrance. Mid-60s, silver blonde bob razor-sharp coral cardigan, clipboard clutched like a shield, tiny pin on the lapel that read, HOA President. Margaret Whitaker. I never heard the name, but I knew the type. "This is a state-authorized emergency mitigation project," I said, keeping my hands visible and relaxed. "You're standing in the middle of it." Her chin lifted half an inch. "This parcel is part of Willow Creek Commons. The Homeowners Association maintains it. We control access. You need board approval." I tilted my head. "That's not accurate. County records show this as public resilience land. Never annexed. Never deeded. We have full clearance." She didn't glance at the permit's raise assistant. Jenna was already holding out. "What's your name?" "Jack Harlan." A flicker, something like recognition, then gone. "Well, Mr. Harlan, heavy equipment is not permitted on association property without written consent, and I am the board." "I don't need your consent," I said evenly. "This falls under state emergency code. I report to the governor's office. You're interfering with a priority public safety operation." Her voice climbed half an octave. "Are you threatening me?" "No, ma'am. I'm informing you." She snapped her fingers at a man in a green polo who jogged over looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Tell them to stop the machine. Call the sheriff. They're trespassing." Jenna stepped forward again. "Sir, if you touch that equipment, you'll be personally liable under state law." Margaret ignored her, planted herself directly in the bulldozer's path, arms wide. "Stop right now." Ray eased off the throttle and shut it down. Protocol, not fear. Margaret turned to me, triumphant. "Now leave, or I'll have every news van in the county here by supper." I didn't answer. I simply pulled out my phone, hit one speed dial, and waited for the single ring. Governor's office. Ellis. Minor situation at Willow Creek. HOA interference. A pause. Then, calm and unmistakable over speaker. "This is Governor Ellis. Mr. Harlan is acting under direct executive authority. Any attempt to obstruct this work is interference with critical state infrastructure and will be prosecuted. Step aside. Now." The line went dead. Margaret's mouth opened, closed, opened again. The color drained from her cheeks. "You didn't say you worked for her." "I shouldn't have had to. I nodded to Ray. The caterpillar rumbled back to life. Margaret stood frozen another long second, then turned and marched away, heels clicking like gunfire on gravel. Duke barked once low, satisfied. We were just getting started. By the next morning, the site was humming again. Fresh survey lines, sediment traps going in, Ray pushing dirt like he'd been born with a blade on the front of his machine. No protests. No sheriff. But silence from Margaret wasn't surrender. It was reloading. Sure enough, at 9:45, Jenna jogged up. She's back. Brought reinforcements. I looked down the access trail. Margaret led the pack. 2 men in matching polos. One carrying a walkie-talkie and a badge that read Enforcement Officer. The other clutching a 3-inch binder, followed by 6 or 7 residents with folded arms and wary expressions. Keep working, I told Jenna. But get the cameras live. Every angle. She nodded and headed for the ops trailer. We recorded everything, not just for safety, but for court if it came to that. Margaret marched straight into the flag zone and spread her arms again. Shut that machinery down. You're violating community conservation standards. Ray killed the engine. Smart man. I walked over slowly. You were told yesterday, very clearly, this is state jurisdiction. You don't own this land, she snapped. We've maintained it for 7 years. Landscaping, benches, erosion matting. It's ours by stewardship. Maintaining public land doesn't make it private, I said. County records are clear. No annexation, no easement transfer. You've been using it. You don't control it. The binder man stepped up. We have minutes, budgets, resolutions, none of which override state statute. I cut in. I've checked. Margaret raised her voice for the small crowd, and for the 2 young guys with phones on gimbals who'd appeared behind her. You're intimidating law-abiding residents. I glanced at the cameras, then looked straight into the nearest lens. My name is Jack Harlan. I'm the project director for the Pine Ridge State Resilience Initiative, appointed by Governor Ellis to build federally funded flood protection in this basin. This is public land under state authority. Anyone who continues to obstruct will be cited under state penal code for interference with public works. Margaret hissed at the camera guys. Cut it. They hesitated, then the feeds went dark. A few residents shifted uncomfortably. One older man, someone I'd seen at the hardware store, quietly stepped back from the group. I softened my tone just enough. I understand you love this place. So do I. But this isn't about trails or benches. It's about making sure the next big storm doesn't wash your homes into the reservoir. You want to help? Volunteer. Talk to your neighbors. But don't stand in front of the people trying to keep you dry. Margaret didn't reply. She spun on her heel and left. Most of her group followed. One woman stayed behind, a young mother with a toddler on her hip. My husband's with the volunteer fire department, she said quietly. He's been warning about the old spillway for years. Said if we get another '08 rain event, half the street floods. He's right, I said. She looked at the graded slope, then back at me. You really work for the governor? I do. She nodded once. Thank you for coming home. That night, I sat on the trailer steps with Duke, coffee going cold, watching the last light bleed across the water. Margaret had pulled back, but I knew better. People who rule by clipboard don't quit. They pivot. Tuesday brought the paper war. Complaints flooded the county zoning office, the mayor, the DEP, even the local TV station. Same talking points: government overreach, destruction of community green space, outsider tearing up family trails. One letter called it an assault on protected open space, conveniently forgetting we'd already hauled out 3 loads of HOA-installed plastic play structures and faux stone benches to reach the real grade. By noon, a courier delivered a thick envelope. Cease and desist on behalf of Willow Creek HOA, citing encroachment and failure to consult. 6 pages of invented legalese, provisional conservatorship, emergency override clause, a stop work order with a seal that looked home-printed. Jenna raised an eyebrow. Legal. Already forwarded. It'll be laughed out of the office by lunch. But the goal wasn't winning in court. It was delay. Noise. Doubt. That afternoon, a silver Lexus pulled up. Out stepped a lawyer I recognized from old zoning hearings. Polished suit, practiced smile, ego the size of a billboard. Travis Bowman, counsel for Willow Creek HOA. I know who you are, I said. I'm here to serve notice. The association seeks an injunction for lack of community input and inadequate disclosure. 3 public meetings in 60 days, Jenna said. All posted online and in the county paper. None in Willow Creek proper, Bowman countered smoothly. None with HOA representation. Because the HOA has no standing here, I said. He leaned in. Technicalities don't win hearts. All I need is a hearing. 2 weeks delay. Enough time to rally the preservation groups, scare your funding sources. I'm negotiating. Margaret's willing to compromise. Have a project footprint. Keep the trench out of sight. Reroute the access road. No. He blinked. Excuse me. Bowman exhaled. Then enjoy the courtroom, Mr. Harlan. He left with less spring in his step. We kept working. Drone footage went up every night, time-stamped, transparent. Truth is the best defense. Wednesday evening, my phone buzzed with a voicemail. Margaret's voice, clipped and cold. You're turning this town against itself. We don't want you here. A fancy title won't protect you forever. We'll outlast you. I saved it. Evidence doesn't expire. Thursday, the tale started. Same white SUV. Hers, circling the perimeter, never crossing the flags but always there. For different cars, same slow rolls. That night someone tagged our temp fence. Go home in red spray paint. We painted over it before dawn. Inside the trailer, I called the crew together. Ray snorted. I've had concrete trucks try to run me over in hurricane zones. Think a HOA busybody's gonna make me quit. Quiet laughter. Tension eased a notch. Friday morning, a man in a suit knocked. Sounds like a stall. Just goodwill. We're not pausing. He handed me another letter requesting a 14-day moratorium. I folded it, dropped it in the trash, and closed the door. That night, walking the perimeter under moonlight with Duke, I saw the new sign wired to our fence. This lake belongs to the people, not the state, not the bureaucrats. It wasn't a threat. It was a belief. And beliefs die hard when they've been fed for years. Saturday, she was alone again. Early, waiting at the edge of the new eastern cut where we were starting the next bench. I walked over. Duke stayed close. You're up early, I said. So are you. Silence stretched. Mist rose off the reservoir. Bird started. I'm asking one last time, she said. Reconsider. Her voice had changed. No bluster, just quiet strain. You have to see what this looks like to us, she went on. People bought here for the view, the woods, the quiet. Now it's machines and mud. The woods aren't disappearing, I said. The slope's being locked down, so the next storm doesn't take the whole hillside. That view stays because the house stays. They didn't vote for this. They didn't have to. It's state land. State project. Emergency declaration. She looked away. You think I'm a bad guy. I think you're scared of losing control. She met my eyes then, hard, tired. I was in Baton Rouge, pulling people out of attics. I was in Asheville, shoring up roads while the river kept rising. I left Willow Creek, yes, but I never stopped working for places like it. She said nothing. I stepped closer. Listened carefully. Stop the proxies. Stop the fake notices. Stop the rumors. If this continues, I'll ask the Attorney General to open a full review. Funds, annexation attempts, enforcement practices. That's not a threat. It's the next step. Her jaw tightened. You destroy the association. I'd make it follow the law. She didn't answer. I walked away. Duke followed. The next days were quiet. Too quiet. Then Tuesday morning the access road was blocked. 3 concrete Jersey barriers, orange mesh fencing stretched between, fresh sign, HOA's safety enforcement zone. No trespassing, violators fined. 2 men in yellow vests stood guard. Margaret behind them, clipboard in hand, phone already recording. Thought we'd agreed to slow down, she called, voice sweet poison. You're blocking a state infrastructure site with unauthorized barriers and unlicensed personnel, I said. You understand that's a felony-level obstruction? This is HOA-managed Greenbelt. We have the right to restrict for safety. I pointed at the sign. That's fabricated. There's no such designation in county code. One guard folded his arms. Ma'am said no entry without approval. I pulled my phone, hit the emergency liaison app. 2 pings sent. Legal public safety. 40 minutes later, the response arrived. State SUV. Sheriff's cruiser. Deputy Director Claire Nguyen stepped out in a gray blazer, walked straight to me. This the obstruction? Yes. Recording since 11:47. She turned to Margaret. Deputy Director Nguyen, Office of Resilience Enforcement. You are in violation of state infrastructure access statutes. Remove these barriers within 5 minutes or face immediate enforcement, including detention for impersonating authorized personnel. Margaret's hand shook. This is our property. It's been public since before your HOA existed. To the guards, you're not on any licensed roster. Leave now, or you're detained. They stepped back. Margaret barked at them. They started moving concrete. The sheriff handed her a formal warning. Next time, charges. Our trucks rolled through 10 minutes later. That evening, sitting by the new culvert with Duke's head in my lap, I knew we'd broken her ground game. But people like Margaret don't vanish. They go higher. So I made the call nobody wants to make. 2 rings. Jack. Governor. It's escalated. Barricades. Unlicensed guards. Forged signage. Coordinated harassment. She's not stopping until someone stops her. Long pause. You want the full weight? Yes. To the mayor, county commission, everyone. You've got it. And, Jack, I should have sent you sooner. I locked the trailer, poured another coffee, and waited for the dominoes. They fell fast. Next morning, state compliance order silencing all HOA communication about the project pending investigation. By 10 o'clock, county records voiding every annexation claim the HOA had ever made. At 10:45 a.m., Black Suburban pulled up. Alan Reeves, chief of the governor's field legal team, shook my hand. We're here to finish this. Behind him, auditors, zoning experts, compliance officers. They set up in the community center and started pulling 6 years of records. By 4 that afternoon, the HOA board, except the treasurer, who was cooperating, had resigned en masse. Accounts frozen. Margaret served notice at her front door. She was gone by weekend's end. House listed. No forwarding address. Just a for sale sign and silence. The project rolled on. Trenches finished. Slopes armored. Native grasses planted. The first big test came that spring. 3 straight days of rain that should have turned the old gullies into rivers. It didn't. The water stayed in the channels we'd built. Basement stayed dry. And Willow Creek started breathing again. The town hall meeting happened 2 weeks later. Open mic. No agenda. Folding chairs in the old library. Alma Therese, quiet retired teacher, one of the few who'd never bowed to Margaret, stood first. We thought we were protecting something, she said, but we forgot who we were protecting it for. One by one they spoke. Apologies. Stories of petty fines. Sidewalk chalk violations. Dog citations. Fear of speaking up. No yelling. No torches. Just truth spoken aloud. Then volunteers. I'll rewrite the bylaws. I'll start a real safety committee. I'll plant the lake path myself. Outside, under the street lamp, Alma found me. You didn't have to call the governor. I didn't want to, but someone had to. She nodded. Thank you for reminding us we could still fix things. The closing ceremony was small. A wooden plaque at the head of the new trail. Pine Ridge Resilience Project. Built for the people who chose to stay. I said a few words. I came back to build dirt walls. What I found was a town that needed to remember it still had a voice. This isn't my win. It's yours. Keep using it. No big applause. Just nods. The kind that means something. Later, walking the finished path with Duke, I stopped at the new bench facing the reservoir. Brass plaque. To those who spoke when it was easier to stay quiet. I sat. Duke lay beside me. The sun dropped behind the ridge, turning the water gold. I wasn't leaving this time. Not yet. There was still work to do. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening to the whole story. This wasn't just about bulldozers and paperwork. It was about power, who gets to hold it, who gets hurt when it's misused, and what happens when ordinary people finally say enough. Some folks will call what happened heavy-handed. Others will say it was long overdue. A few will argue the HOA was just trying to protect their little piece of the world. What's your take? Was the governor's intervention justice or overreach? Did Margaret deserve what she got? Or was she simply a symptom of a bigger problem? Have you ever seen petty authority turn into real harm in your own neighborhood? Drop your thoughts in the comments. No name calling, no insults, just your honest opinion. I'd like to hear where you stand. And if you got a similar story, share it. Sometimes the best way to keep things from happening again is to talk about them out loud. See you in the next one. Stay safe out there.